The rain had just stopped when the funeral began, leaving the cemetery wrapped in a quiet, heavy silence. Black umbrellas stood close together as mourners whispered, their breath visible in the cold air. At the center lay the coffin of Helena, the beloved daughter of a powerful billionaire, a young woman everyone believed had died suddenly in her sleep. Grief moved through the crowd like a slow shadow. Her parents stood broken, friends stunned, and the priest prepared to say the final words that would seal her fate forever. Everything about the moment felt finished, unquestionable, and absolute. No one expected anything to change. No one imagined that the truth could still be buried beneath layers of assumptions, authority, and fear. It was meant to be a goodbye, calm and final, the kind that closes a chapter without looking back. But sometimes, the most important stories begin at the exact moment everyone believes they are over. Just as the priest raised his hand to deliver the final blessing, a sudden movement broke the stillness. A man in a worn, rain-soaked uniform stepped forward, his boots sinking into the wet ground as every eye turned toward him. He was a garbage collector, someone most people had passed 1,000 times without noticing. Whispers rippled through the crowd, confusion mixed with irritation, because he didn't belong among the polished coats and quiet power. His hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the weight of what he was about to do. Speaking up meant defying wealth, authority, and expectation. Yet something stronger than fear pushed him forward. He wasn't used to being heard, and he knew the risk of being dismissed or mocked. Still, he stood there, voice shaking but determined, because sometimes the truth chooses the most unlikely messenger. Worth hesitant breaths, the man began to explain why he could not stay silent. He spoke about the night he had found Helena alone, pale and barely responsive, yet not gone. He described how her breathing was faint, her pulse so weak it almost vanished beneath his fingers, and how even the paramedics had paused in uncertainty. A doctor had briefly mentioned a rare condition, one that could place a person in a coma so deep it looked exactly like death. But in the rush of authority, paperwork, and grief, that warning had disappeared. His words weren't polished or confident, but they carried something stronger than expertise memory. He remembered how her fingers had moved, how life had clung quietly to her when no one else was paying attention. Standing there, he wasn't accusing anyone, only asking them to look again before it was too late. As he continued, his voice softened, shifting from facts to something more personal. He spoke about Helena not as a billionaire's daughter, but as a woman who noticed people others ignored. She greeted him by name, asked how his day was going, and smiled as if his work and his life mattered. When others looked through him, she looked at him. Those small moments of kindness had stayed with him, quietly building a sense of responsibility he never asked for but could not escape. Saving her wasn't about bravery or recognition. It was about honoring the humanity she had shown him first. Because when someone treats you like you matter, you carry that weight forever. Standing there in front of everyone, he realized he owed her more than silence. He owed her the courage to speak, no matter how uncomfortable or unwelcome his voice might be. The crowd stood frozen as his words settled into the silence, and slowly doubt began to replace certainty. After a tense pause, the coffin was opened. Despite nervous protests and shaking hands, a small mirror was held beneath Helena's nose, and for a moment, nothing happened. Time seemed to stretch. hearts pounding in the stillness. Then, almost impossibly, a faint trace of fog appeared on the glass. What had been a funeral erupted into chaos, voices shouting, people rushing, and professionals scrambling to confirm what no one expected to be true. A pulse was found, barely there, but alive. Tears replaced disbelief as hope surged through the crowd. The ambulance doors slammed shut, sirens cutting through the air as Helena was rushed away from the grave that nearly claimed her. In that instant, one brave voice had turned goodbye into survival. In the days that followed, the meaning of what had happened began to sink in. Helena survived not because of wealth or influence, but because someone ordinary refused to stay silent. Her family saw the man they had once overlooked with new eyes, recognizing that courage and compassion cannot be measured by status. Gratitude replaced judgment, and respect replaced distance. Helena herself understood it best when she learned how close she had come to being lost, and who had stood alone for her when no one else did. That moment changed more than one life. It reminded everyone watching that dignity belongs to all of us. True humanity lives in noticing, in caring, and in speaking up when it matters most. Heroes are not defined by power or position, but by the courage to act when the world looks away. And sometimes that courage saves everything.